So I thought this post from one of the Etsy sellers in my community was so good that I had to share it with you guys. I mean, this seller really went above and beyond as far as sharing their knowledge and how they reached $1 million in sales. And they are, like I said, a member in my Etsy Games VIP community, which we do a lot of stuff in here. I just revamped the Ultimate Etsy Traffic Challenge, and I help you with SEO, help keep you motivated. We do live group coaching calls. I do one-on-one coaching calls. All kinds of good stuff in here, and it's not thousands of dollars. It's very affordable. There's plans as low as $10 a month in here. So, anyways, I pulled this out. Here's a screenshot of what they shared of their revenue. They're in Australia, so it's $1 million there. I think it equates for USD like 700,000 or something like that. Still a freaking lot of money, right? They're obviously doing things the right way, and this is usually a dream goal. And I mean, look at this conversion rate, 7.6%. I mean, that's crazy high. So they were doing things the right way, and they shared a synopsis of what has worked for them. And this is what I'm going to share with you today because I think it is so valuable and so good. And my hope is that it helps you stay motivated, or it helps you reinvest back in your business. And that's why I'm sharing it for you. All right, so the first tip they give, number one here, is treat it like a proper business, not a personal validation machine. So this was a big mental shift early on. When someone buys, that's great. When they don't, it's not a reflection of you as a person. They're just trying to solve a problem. And for whatever reason, your product wasn't the solution they needed right now. Once you separate your ego from the business decisions, you can actually look at the data objectively. What's working, what's not, what needs to change. It's not personal, it's just business. And that mindset shift alone will save you a lot of sleepless nights. And I think this is I hear this all the time, especially from newer sellers. They're afraid to open up because they're afraid their items aren't going to sell. They're afraid no one's going to buy them. And that's tough, right? We don't like that. As a human being, we are not built well for rejection. So from a defense mechanism, we try to avoid rejection. We try to avoid situations of failure because it's painful. So our mind is always telling us not to do things, to stop doing the things, and we have to fight through that. So I think that's really, really valuable. Number two is create a better customer experience by filling the gaps in the market. He goes on to say our success came from looking at what our competitors weren't doing and actively choosing to solve those problems. We look at reviews in our niche and see what people were complaining about or wishing was different. Then we build that into our products and listings. Sometimes it meant more work, better instructions, more file formats, additional bonuses, but that's exactly why it worked. We weren't just creating another version of what already existed. We were genuinely improving the experience. It's harder than copying what's already working, but the results speak for themselves. And I think this is a big missed opportunity. A lot of people, they're looking and they do research and they see what's working, so they literally just do a version of that without thinking of, how can I make this better? How can I do better? Just because you're looking at a seller that's doing really well, there's things that you can still pull out and do better, right? It happens all the time with big companies. A lot of companies that have a lion's share of the market, they don't last because they're not continually evolving and improving, and someone comes in and just does it better. So that's how you have to treat your business, and not just try to put products out there. Try to serve your niche and your target audience better. So it goes beyond just the products. Number three, aesthetics is everything. Your listing image needs to stop the scroll. If you're getting impressions but no clicks, your listing image is the problem 99% of the time. People are scrolling fast. Your thumbnail needs to communicate value instantly. We spent time looking at what everyone else in our category was doing, and then deliberately went a different direction with our main images. Bold colors, clear text overlays showing the benefit, mock-ups that demonstrated the product in use, whatever makes someone stop and think, oh, that's different, or that's exactly what I need. Don't be afraid to test something that goes against the grain. Sometimes the listing that feels a bit too much is the one that actually converts. So yeah, the main image is very, very important. A lot of times pictures are a struggle for a lot of sellers, and we don't put everything into the pictures when we should. And you got to learn. I go back and look at some of my old pictures. I mean, they're pretty much garbage. they're a dumpster fire, as I like to say. So you got to get better, but try to look at it retrospectively, like take yourself out of it, look at your image compared to all the other images that are showing up. How can you stand out? How can you do it better? Your image is really everything. Number 4, if you're getting clicks but no conversions, something in your listing is putting people off. This is actually good news because it means people are interested enough to click through. They like the concept, but something between the click and the checkout is making them bounce. Could be your price doesn't match the perceived value. Could be your product photos don't show enough detail. Could be your description doesn't answer the questions they have. Could be your reviews are few or mixed. Go through your listing like your customer who knows nothing about your product. What questions would you have? What concerns? Address those directly in your copy and images. Make the decision to buy as easy as possible. A lot of times, probably the biggest reason is confusion, especially with personalized items. We assume that they know Etsy. We assume that they know how to check out. People don't. So we can't assume that. We have to be redundant with the important stuff, make it clear and as frictionless as possible. If there's more friction or confusion, people are not going to buy. Number 4, don't race to the bottom on price. Focus on improving your offer instead. This one's huge. So many sellers in our niche slash their prices to $1 to $3 to compete on volume. Our average order value is $16.36. We're not the number 1 bestseller in our category, but I'm confident we're making more value than a lot of other shops with more sales, purely because we're focused on improving the product and the offer rather than competing on price. Better instructions, more file formats, bonus resources, superior customer service. All of these things let you charge more because you are genuinely delivering more value. Competing on price is a race to the bottom that nobody wins. Competing on value is how you build a sustainable business. I could not agree with this more. A lot of people, they list their products, they don't sell, they lower prices, right? They immediately assume it's the price, when it's probably the perceived value. There's probably, and a lot of that, the perceived value is every component of your listing, the pictures, the video, the description, how well you are laying that out for customers. If you don't have enough information or there's spelling mistakes or the pictures are blurry or dark, that perceived value is going to be a lot less than someone that's doing all of those things the right way. So that is really important. Number 6, use all listing images and the video. They do the heavy lifting. These images are doing so much of your sales process for you. They're answering questions, demonstrating value, building trust, and closing the sale. So use every single one. Show the product from different angles, show it in use, show different variations or applications, use text overlays to call out key features and benefits, show the file types included, show mockups in realistic settings. The video is even more powerful if you can swing it. People watch videos, they engage with movement, use that real estate. If you're using only 5 or 6 images because that seems like enough, you're leaving a massive amount of conversion potential on the table. And this is something I've talked about a lot. A lot of people are like, 20 photos, that's so many. But you have to use them dynamically to sell your item. I mean, that is your voice. That's your sales pitch, right? So don't just do 10 photos of different angles, basically the same picture. Use your photos more dynamically. How can you showcase the features and benefits? How can you show more social proof? How can you show ordering instructions? So a lot of people think of their photos as just photos of the image of the item. No, those photos can be turned, you can use words as photos for the important information. People will watch the video, they'll click through the photos. Most of them aren't going to read your description or scroll down that far. So use the photos as your sales pitch. And look at them a little bit more dynamically than just taking a bunch of pictures of your item. Number 7, don't be afraid of Etsy ads. They work if you have the margin. I know that platform is clunky and limited compared to Facebook or Google, but it still works. Assuming you have the margin to play with, which is definitely easier for digital products, I'll admit. We also sell physical planners on Amazon, a tale for another time. I'd recommend everyone at least test them. We have ours set to max spend daily, and it never gets even close to maxing out. The traffic is decent quality, and it feeds the algorithm with more data about who's buying your products. You don't need to be an ads expert. Just run them, just turn them on, set a reasonable daily budget you're comfortable with, and monitor the results. If you're profitable, scale up. If not, optimize your listings and try again. So yeah, ads can be beneficial. Again, you got to pay attention to your margin. You got to know how much margin how much profit margin. You got to know your expenses, because a lot of people do that and they only have 10% margin, and then they eat up all that margin with ads. So that's not the best place to be. So either work on improving your margin or don't use ads. A lot of people do ads too fast. I see new sellers, they immediately turn ads on when there's a lot of other problems with their listings, a lot of other things that they have to learn. There's a process you have to go through first. And I prefer to get organic sales first before turning on ads, because if you can get organic sales, there, you know you're on to something, you're starting to do things the right way. Ads just amplify what you're already doing. So if your listings aren't great, they're going to amplify that to more people, and it's going to cost you money, and they're still not going to buy. So just be careful with ads. They do work really well if you're in a good position for them, and if you're monitoring them accordingly, turning the ads off for underperforming listings and just keeping a close eye on it. Number 8, keep creating new listings. The algorithm seems to love fresh content. This is a bit of a hypothesis on my part, but Etsy's algorithm seems to behave like most other platforms in that it rewards fresh content and activity. We've noticed that when we're consistently adding new products, our overall shop visibility tends to improve. It's not just about the new listings themselves. It seems to give a bit of a halo effect to the whole shop. So don't just sit on your existing catalog hoping it'll magically start selling more. Keep researching what customers want. Keep creating solutions. Keep listing products. Couldn't agree with this more. It is so true. Not only it helps you get better as you're putting in the reps, but the platform does reward fresh content, just like any platform. Just like, if you're watching this on YouTube, if I stopped making YouTube videos today and didn't make a YouTube video for a couple of months, my views on the platform would dive bomb, right? It's not going to keep growing. Same thing with any other platform. eBay is the same way, Amazon, they're all built, Facebook, Instagram, they're all built to reward fresh content, fresh stuff, because it shows that you're engaged in the platform, you're helping the platform grow. So they are going to, they're going to reward you for that. And it's also giving you more information to work with down the road. Again, you have to be strategic. Don't just do new listings to do new listings. Be strategic about it. But again, it's that consistency over time that's going to be the snowball effect that's going to help you grow. Number 9, always be split testing, but be strategic about it. One thing I learned from some of the sharper folks in the space is you've always got to be trying to beat your control, your best performing version. We do our testing a bit differently than some. We'll update a listing with a new image or copy angle and run it for a few days to see if it beats the previous version. We track the conversion rate closely. One thing we learned the hard way, with high volume, you can actually cannibalize your own visibility if you have too many similar products competing against one another. We have a bunch of listings fall into a void this year before we figured that out. So test, be strategic. Don't just flood your shop with 17 variations of the exact same thing, thinking more is better. And this is a really good point. Split testing or A/B testing is really valuable. I think I've talked about this many times. Product lines is really valuable, but you have to change your listings enough that where it makes sense. Again, you can't just do the same exact thing in 20 different colors. You know what I mean? Those variations are good for that listing, but if you're going to do other listings that are similar, you have to change it more than just a simple color tweak. But product lines do help showcase your items better, help the algorithm target your target audience better, give more options to your customer. So there is a fine line between it being too close and it being too far apart. You have to find that happy medium. Number 10, customer service is absolutely paramount. We message every customer, every single buyer with a personal thank you, encourage them to reach out if they have any issues, and include discount codes on future purchases. This does a few things. It builds goodwill. It reduces unnecessary bad reviews because people will actually message you first instead of leaving a 1-star review. And it creates repeat customers. You'll still get bad reviews occasionally. That's just part of doing business, but you can minimize them significantly with proactive, friendly customer service. Bonus tip, if you're genuinely problematic, if you get a genuinely problematic customer, the type where you can see the bad review coming from a mile away, despite doing everything right, use the cancel option instead of refund. The money still goes back to them, but they can't leave a review. We only use this in extreme cases with actual problem customers. but it's a good tool to have in your kit. And this is a really good point. This is a really good strategy. Also, this will help you get more reviews and better reviews. You know, if you're reaching out in this way after the purchase to make sure they're happy with their item, and it'll help you prevent bad reviews. So very, very good point. And then they go on to say they've finished this with, there's no magic bullet. It's been a combination of treating this like a real business, constantly improving the customer experience, testing what works, and putting in consistent effort over time. If you're just getting started, focus on points 1 through 4 first. Get the fundamentals right, then layer in more advanced stuff. Last thing I'll say is LL's training and this community is literally all you need to create a successful business on Etsy. Go watch the modules if you haven't. Go check out the 28-day challenge if it's not too late, which it's not. I just revamped it and rolled it back out. Ask questions, show up, and remember the phrase, "It served me well so far." Money loves speed. The longer you sit on a listing idea, the less time it has to collect data, launch, get data, iterate as you scale, in my opinion. All right, guys, that is it. Those are the 10 tips from a $1 Million Seller. And this was super valuable. Like I said, I had to share it. Even if you take 1 or 2 nuggets from this, it's going to serve you well. This person is doing it. They're obviously a really good seller. They're a fantastic person for sharing this information. And I only thought that it was right to share it with you guys as well, because it is really valuable information. So that's it. Hopefully that helps you guys out. Have an amazing rest of your day. I'll be back soon with some more good stuff for you guys.